Alrighty, and I'm getting the thumbs up from our coordinator, so I'm going to get started. Welcome everyone to the Canada-US Power Networking event powered by the US Consulate General Office, as well as TeCK Alliance's 5th Annual TeCH Week YQG. It's the region's largest festival dedicated to tech, talent, and community. It's excellent to see everyone here today. We're delighted to be joined by our women entrepreneurs and professionals from across North America. So if you're joining from somewhere in North America, please go ahead and let us know in the chat. My name is Aislinn Laurent, and I'm the Tech Community Liaison for Invest Windsor Essex. I'm delighted to be your host and moderator for tonight's proceedings. While the event is virtual, we would like to respectfully acknowledge that the land on which we gather today is the traditional territory of the Three Fires Confederacy of First Nations, comprised of the Ojibwa, the Odawa, and the Potawatomi people. We're grateful to work, learn, and live in this area. Thank you very much. Tonight's event is going to feature remarks from the Consulate General Susan R. Crystal and have a fireside chat with Spellbound founder and CEO Christina York. It's going to be really fun, an excellent event of networking, and it's going to be facilitated by our expert author Kelly Hoey. Pardon me. Can you tell it's been a minute? Should you have any technical difficulties at all or have any trouble navigating the Remo platform, please feel free to message us directly or visit the help desk on the floor plan. And you can message us either by either through the DM function in the chat or in the general chat. And we'll be sure to get you some help. Before we begin, it's my pleasure to announce Kelly Hoey, the networking expert and author. Kelly is the author of Build Your Dream Network, Forging Powerful Relationships in a Hyper-Connected World. She's working on her second book, which focuses on the unique networks of women needed for career success. A speaker sought out for her networking insights, Kelly has been lauded from Forbes in 1 in 5 women changing the world of VC and entrepreneurship, and Business Insider, one of the 100 most influential tech women on Twitter, and Inc. magazine, so one of 10 most well-connected people in New York City's startup scene. Excellent to have you, Kelly. Thank you very much for joining us. You can feel free to turn your camera and your microphone whenever you're ready.
There we are. And I want to say not bad for a poli-sci and economics grad from the University of Victoria and a law degree from UBC, that all those accolades.
Absolutely.
So you never know where your networks are going to take you. So I'm excited to be here back with all of you. I say that my friends in the Canadian tech community who have been so supportive of my book, Build Your Dream Network. So let's get, should we get the first bit of networking started?
Absolutely, I think we should.
Okay, hopefully everyone read the email that came around. A lot of the things you're asked to do in the startup community is introduce yourself and make a pitch. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of a pitch in a meeting someone context, because it feels like someone's just basically spitting a bunch of words on me. So that's why we had the challenge of how you can use 6 words. That's it, 6 words to start and spark a conversation. There were some examples in the email. One of them I didn't share was when a few years ago, the director Spike Lee, someone said, I got a project for you. He said, convince me in 6 words. And those 6 words were black man infiltrates Ku Klux Klan. 6 words. And we all know what that movie was. And that's why he made it. Pitch in 6 words, or an introduction in 6 words, or start a conversation so that you can actually meet someone. So I'm going to stop talking. Let's go get over to that networking platform, or the networking side of Remo, so that you can start introducing each other in 6 words.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed our networking session. If I'm not mistaken, let me double check the schedule. We will have another opportunity to chat with everyone. Yes, there will be some more networking closer to the end of the event. But for now, we're going to jump into some of our talks. And to begin with, I'd like to introduce Yvonne Pilon, who is, of course, the CEO and president of TeCH Alliance. She is our fearless leader. Yvonne, where are you? So while we give Yvonne a second there, let me give you a little bit more information about her. So she was, oh, there we go. Hi, Yvonne.
You think after 2 years of virtual and using Remo, I would be able to realize that my camera was just at the bottom. So I apologize. I'm
No
here.
problem, no problem. Hi there.
You know, Aislinn, no worries on an introduction. Again, just quickly, Yvonne Pilon, President and CEO of TeCK Alliance, one of the organizations hosting tonight, as well as a number of others who are in attendance. But hello, hello, hello. I know some of you are new to the remote platform, so I hope that first 25 minutes, you got to learn about others. It was so good to see some friendly new faces. One of my favorite 6th word, and Kelly, you should be so proud of our group. I'm going to give out a shout out to Shan from Innovation Factory, who is a regional innovation working with startups, who called herself in 6 words an orchestra director for local startups or local entrepreneurs. So well done. But I'm not here to talk so much because I know we're all eager to hear from our couple speakers and keynotes. But you might be wondering how we even got here today. And well, like any good story or business, it started with an idea. So over a year ago, a group of Ontario Regional Innovation Centres came together at the peak of the pandemic to better understand how we can support women-led founders. We knew based on research that outside of funding and affordable childcare, coaching and mentorship was really what women listed as some of their top needs. So the result was the Power Panel program. So flash forward, the success of that program pushed us to explore additional ways that we could support and continue this program. So thanks to the support of the U.S. Consul General in Canada's Building Back Better program aimed at strengthening support for women entrepreneurs during COVID-19, we were able to bring back the Power Panel program, but with a bi-national twist. So you're going to see tonight, we're joined by women entrepreneurs and professionals from both sides of the border. The goal of the Canada-U.S. Power Panel program was to expand mentorship, strategic connection, opportunities for women-owned technology companies and innovation companies within Southwestern Ontario. Over the course of the last 6 months, so we're just kind of this is the big ending to the program. Women-led ventures from across Southwestern Ontario had the opportunity to accelerate their skills development and were able to leverage U.S. high-powered influential mentors from outside of their traditional networks. This was particularly important for women who are looking at exploring new markets, such as the U.S. market. I'd like to just pause for a quick second to thank all the participating entrepreneurs and advisors. Some of them are in the virtual audience today. And additionally, thank our program leader, Kate Toman, who really made this program happen. We are pleased to share, this is always what's fun, is the outcome of a program. Usually we're doing this at the beginning, but we were able to support close to 20 women-led ventures in Southwestern Ontario and connect them with over 20 U.S. advisors. In fact, one of the sessions we had 3 different time zones in it. So for those that participated, thank you. And for me, when I think about what was the best part of this, and not to tout on, to promote, I do want to promote women, but we brought together a group of individuals, again, very busy individuals, but they had a give first mentality. These were the women who, at any point were opening up their Rolodex, sharing their relationships with women entrepreneurs in Southwestern Ontario to support their growth and their recovery. So for those, again, thank you so much. So on behalf of TeCH Alliance, a big thank you, and feel free to share a big thank you to the U.S. Consul General in Canada's Building Back Better program for supporting this initiative and today's closing events. So to the entire team that we've worked with, just phenomenal, and we look forward to continued partnership with you. To Rise Windsor Essex, as well as our Southwestern Ontario Regional Innovation Centres, I'm going to make sure I name them all: TeCH Alliance, HallTech, Innovation Factory, Innovation Guelph, and Innovation Niagara, or Innovate Niagara, pardon me. Awesome partnership. That's what I love most about this program is it's not one organization coming together, it's women entrepreneurs coming together, women professionals, innovation centers, and literally 2 countries coming together. So with that, to all of the women, and I think we have a few men joining us tonight, we hope you leave the event with new connections, new inspiration, and new energy to collectively help both countries build back better. So thank you, and please enjoy your networking.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Yvonne. Appreciate it. Alrighty, and so I'm just going to take a moment to introduce our next speaker, which is Susan R. Crystal, the Consul General from Toronto, Canada. Prior to her arrival in Canada, Consul General Crystal was the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Professional and Culture Exchanges in the U.S. Department of State's Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs. During her tenure as Deputy Assistant Secretary, she was responsible for overseeing a broad array of professional, youth, and cultural programs for U.S. and foreign audiences, where she placed a strong emphasis on mentoring, diversity and inclusion, leadership coaching, and the importance of alumni interaction. Throughout her career with the Department of State, Consul General Crystal has had the pleasure to serve in Australia, Ecuador, and Haiti. Mauritius and South Africa, as well as Ottawa, Canada. Consul General Crystal is from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Consul General, if you can turn your camera and your microphone on, then we'll get started with your remarks.
There we go. I hope you can hear me. And thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And really thanks to Yvonne and everybody on the team at TeCK Alliance and to all of the regional partners for putting this event together. I'm truly delighted to join you here this evening. We all wish it would be in person, but it's great to join you from Toronto as well. And I'm looking forward to taking part in this first virtual cross-border networking event. What an honor to be among so many accomplished women, and I guess a few men too. And what a wonderful way to continue to celebrate Women's History Month through this opportunity. Before I get into my main remarks, I would like to share with you the statement that our First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden, put out for International Women's Day, because I think it really speaks volumes of what's going on in the world today and what we're all doing ourselves. She said, "From soft lullabies to battle cries for justice, women nurse and nurture, teach and build, lead and dream our world forward each and every day. Women have never been silent, but women have been silenced. That's because our voices are powerful. When we raise them, we can tear down injustice, topple tyrants and demagogues, and shatter the shields of oppression." This International Women's Day, we honor women throughout the world who courageously use their voice, no matter the cost. To our sisters in Ukraine who are fighting to keep their country free and their families alive, we stand with you in solidarity. To our sisters in Russia who are protesting and speaking out against the invasion at great personal risk, we see your courage. And for women warriors around the world, we know, to all the women warriors around the world, those fighting for justice and working for change, thank you for building a better future for all of us. And so to all the women warriors on our program this evening, thank you for what you're doing in the tech space and in your communities to make them all better for all of us. And certainly on behalf of the U.S. Consulate General here in Toronto, it has been a pleasure to partner with TeCK Alliance these past few months, I guess, to support the U.S.-Canada Power Panel program. Kudos for creating a space that encourages cross-border dialogue among Canadian women entrepreneurs and American women industry leaders. We applaud you for your ongoing commitment to advancing both of our countries' shared agenda of women's economic and entrepreneurial empowerment. I would also like to take a moment to congratulate the entrepreneurs, the warriors who participated in the power panels by pitching their companies to leading businesswomen. I have no doubt that this opportunity offered you invaluable insights and hope that you continue to look for ways to build your international networks. I wish you the best as you continue to grow your businesses and look forward to meeting you this evening. And I already met a couple at the original networking, so that's been great so far. Also, I would like to recognize the mentors, the American businesswomen and industry professionals who guided these entrepreneurs and offered them valuable advice on how to grow their businesses. Thank you for making time to share your wisdom with women across the border. As I'm sure you can all agree, one of the joys of mentoring is seeing how it creates a powerful ripple effect. Your efforts have greatly contributed to that, and I look forward to connecting with you to find more ways that we can work together. There is no doubt that these past 2 years have changed us. We have experienced a global pandemic, a shifting global trade patterns, economic change, and new ways of working. And this has affected us all, and our families, our colleagues, and our neighbors. And to add to the stress, the pandemic has disproportionately hurt women in the United States, in Canada, and around the globe. But in an era of growth and change, one thing remains constant: the unbreakable friendship between Canada and the United States. This certainly comes as no surprise to me, as we have been strongly valuing our partnership with Canada and have done so for more than 150 years. Certainly we are making progress. At the highest levels of government outlined in the roadmap for a renewed US-Canada partnership, we're committed to finding ways to building back better. Why we're supporting this program: by supporting women's full and equal participation in the workforce and by supporting women-owned businesses. Our newly arrived US Ambassador David Cohen noted, building back better and advancing diversity and inclusion must go hand in hand to build back small and medium-sized enterprises, especially those owned by underrepresented groups such as women, minorities, and Indigenous peoples. A big part of US diplomacy is working closely with local partners around the world who share our goals, and we support these partners through a robust network of resources. These resources include a grants program, people-to-people exchanges, and cultural outreach. These are the very tools, the ones that grant us the possibility to partner with you on this program through Build Back Better. More specifically, the U.S. Mission to Canada is proud to support programs like these, programs that bring together leaders and innovators from both sides of the border to cooperate on issues of shared priority, programs that create fantastic synergies and that support women entrepreneurs so that they can thrive. We support these programs because connections matter. We support these programs because we know that when women participate fully and equally in business, that countries are more prosperous. The Canada-US Power Panel is about reinforcing these networks, about sharing best practices across the border, virtually, but most importantly, together, however that is. That is why members of my team and I are here today, to support you, to be an ally, to encourage you to collaborate across that border, and to invest in each other's success. Supporting women entrepreneurs is one of the best tools we have for advancing equality for women, and we are grateful to have you as part of our network. Speaking of collaboration and networking, and now that things are opening up, I look forward to making my way down to Southwestern Ontario within the next couple of months. I look forward to meeting some of you and to learning more about the great work that is being done to advance the US-Canada partnership every single day. Thank you once again for giving me and my team the opportunity to join you this evening. I'm wishing you all the best as you expand your networks, and I look forward to connecting and keeping the connection going. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Consul General, for joining us. That was beautiful. Appreciate it. Alrighty, and it's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Christina York, who's the CEO and founder of Spellbound, to the stage for our fireside chat. Christina York has been in the tech industry for 19 years, designing and building solutions for healthcare, higher education, and the not-for-profit tech industry. She is a user experience designer and researcher by training, with a master's degree in information science, specializing in information architecture and user experience research. Since starting Spellbound, Christina has been passionate about building the 3D technology talent pool in Ann Arbor and creating an environment that supports diversity and inclusion in technology. Christina, please join me up here. Hi, how are you?
Hi, good. I think I've got poor lighting here.
You look good. There you are, a little brighter. Alrighty, so please, do you have anything to add to your introduction there for the people who don't know you already?
No, I'm grateful to be here and get to network from my basement in a closet. It's a good time.
Awesome. Excellent. Can you tell me a little bit more about Spellbound and the work that you do there?
Spellbound is an early stage startup I created a few years ago. We use augmented reality technology to create games that help patients recover faster after procedures. So you think about what might motivate a child after they had a surgery, and really addressing the needs that healthcare has right now around staff burnout and how can patients participate more in their healthcare journey. So those are some of the things we're tackling.
Awesome. And can you talk a little bit about what drove you to start that business and begin your entrepreneurial journey?
Yes, I've been in tech a long time, and I think the first step in that entrepreneurial journey was kind of realizing that for me, I was always told, be a team player and work hard and you'll be successful in your career. And that can be true, but it wasn't necessarily, I'll say, satisfying. So the first realization was that, my job, as wonderful as it was not exactly a satisfying career for me. So I decided to become an entrepreneur. Then you have to figure out what you're going to do. And I think the second real crystallizing moment for me was, I'd come upon a lot of opportunity in healthcare for immersive technologies like augmented and virtual reality. And I quickly became overwhelmed with the opportunities that were available. And it's almost like, squirrel, like I'm distracted every second by new opportunities. But I had a moment with my young daughter when she was 3 that really helped me to get a grip on a problem that healthcare faces. So, she had what 3-year-olds do, jammed a tree bud in her ear, and we needed to get it removed. But because she was terrified and in pain, she wasn't cooperative with the care team at the hospital. And there's really there weren't any great tools to engage her in that journey. And so, we ended up seeing restraints being used, or in the end, she was put under general anesthesia to have a simple procedure done that could have been done in 5 minutes if she'd been cooperative. So it really opened my eyes to, underserved populations in healthcare, like children, but also understanding how can we leverage the immersiveness or the engaging nature of technology to improve that journey through healthcare, so that we have children that grow to be adults that have a positive relationship with healthcare. So that moment in the emergency room kind of crystallized everything for me.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And so can you talk a little bit about the technology? So the idea is to help children feel a little bit more engaged and less scared when they're going through the healthcare process. Is that right?
Yes. First of all, we start with mobile devices, which is, instead of leveraging expensive and difficult to scale headsets, like most families, regardless of socioeconomic status, they may not own a car, but they probably own a smartphone. So it's a way of creating more accessibility. So we use augmented reality on the smart device. It's like a combination between Pokemon Go, a digital scavenger hunt that requires them to walk to achieve goals and earn rewards, and Animal Crossing, which is a very character-driven type of virtual world building game, so that it can give patients some downtime in terms of I've done the work. It hurts to walk after surgery, but this game is so fun that I'm going to do it anyway. And we really think a lot also about nurses are very overburdened right now, and they play such a big role, and hospitals are struggling to keep staff on board and prevent burnout. So we think about how patients could be self-directed in their journey. And so if you take the mobile phone, and some of our wall decals are behind us, you pointed out wall decal, little games and interactive activities that require them to move are revealed. And so that's how they kind of progress and be self-directed through their journey.
Amazing stuff. I mean, Pokemon Go and Animal Crossing, you've already got me. I would love to play. I'm already excited.
We'll sign you up.
Yeah, absolutely. Any testing you need, any research you need done, I'm right here. So tonight is all about networking and building connections. Can you talk a little bit about why those networks are so important and how they've helped you build your business?
Yeah, I mean, I think networks are the things that drive business. So your network is going to get you your first customer. Your network is going to get you your first investor or your first employee. Your network will be the thing that picks you up after a fall. And I think that the important aspects of that, like from the get-go, I always built in time to build my network. Like I would give myself a budget. Like you have to attend, before the pandemic, it was like you need to attend at least one event a month, and you need to spend so many hours a month engaging with people that exist in your network, and then so many hours adding people to your network in meaningful ways, right? This isn't just about, how many followers I have on Twitter. It was about like when I need it, a really valuable network could, when you put out a call for help, or, hey, I need this introduction, and I know you're putting your reputation in your line, like who's going to answer that call? And so that is the value of the network for me. It's helped us accelerate every aspect of our business.
Yeah, absolutely. And Yvonne has mentioned something really interesting in the chat. If you'd like to network with your fellow participants, please feel free to put your LinkedIn information in the chat. And also keep in mind that we will be doing an audience question at the end of the talk. So if you put any questions you'd like in the chat, then I'll keep an eye on them, and we will be sure to ask them during that section. So the last few years have been really unprecedented, right? Especially in terms of networking. It's been hard to make those connections virtually. Can you talk a little bit about how you personally and how your business have persevered through these tough times, and how you continue to network?
Yeah, I really made a very conscious effort to always try to give myself perspective. And as a healthcare company, when the pandemic hit, the first thing might think is, oh no, what's going to happen to our company? But what we really doubled down on and focused on is, okay, we got to start connecting back into that community, that network that was so important to us. So like, I was talking to anybody I could who worked in a hospital, like, calling on family, friends, and other people in my network who I knew worked in hospitals to like, just understand what they were going through. How has every day changed for you? Like the day-to-day changed. What are the new concerns, worries, like, and keep your thumb on that. And again, it was me budgeting time to do this, but it was also just me making extra effort, like to reach out into my network and connect with folks that like, I'm like, oh, I'm struggling with this issue. Are you, So I think that it helped to like alleviate the, isolation that was really very prevalent at the, throughout the pandemic, but really put it into perspective, that perseverance is not just about falling into a new familiar pattern, like getting into a new rut, like, oh, I stay home in my basement in my closet office all day long, perseverance should include that adaptability and understanding how others are adapting as well. So, we just started attending more virtual events as well, hey, what does a virtual conference in healthcare look like? That's new. Okay, let's understand how that's taking shape, and putting ourselves out there a little bit more as a company.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that leads well into the next question I have for you, which is about that sort of hustle culture, right? I mean, like you mentioned, this sort of adaptability and perseverance, I think it's led a lot of people to push themselves into the realm of overwork. How do you budget for networking while still leaving time for the other things that are important in life?
Yeah, well, I think
the easy questions, right?
Super easy. Thank you for just lobbing them over. No. So, the pandemic caused, and I'm sure this is true for many people, but the lines between work life and home life, like personal life, to become completely blurred. And for me, as an entrepreneur, when we shut down our office and I started working from home, I think it actually, in some ways became easier to work in personal wellness. And let me qualify that, because it's like never easy, but so like I'm not in an office anymore where people around me and are going to be listening in if I want to, sign up for an emotional wellness workshop at lunchtime. And, they have them online now, and there's a lot of them. And I did that, I took the opportunities like during the day when like, I might take a 5-minute break. Oh, I can like, have a Zoom call with like I started CBT there, like cognitive behavioral therapy for my insomnia. Like I hadn't done that in 8 years. I would have like regular calls with a dietitian because I could now, like I could meet on Zoom with a dietitian, where there's so many more options for wellness, I think, available. So this was an opportunity, but it was about like making that time. And I think what I was seeing and what I was trying to reflect to myself is I was really worried about my team burning out. And I was really worried about like, the others around me burning out, like family members, friends, other people who have startups. And so I started reflecting that back onto me. So, and that was like the impetus to take the time. But I do want to say something, like this whole hustle culture is just such crap, like the idea that we have to send emails at 3 a.m. to be seen as productive, or about bragging about how much we need to work to demonstrate our commitment. And I think women are victim of this even more. So is like, this is unacceptable. And I think the pandemic has switched a lot of employers from the mentality of be at your desk and working by 7 a.m. And if you go home before 7 p.m., are you really, really working? To this like concept of work from anywhere as long as you're getting your work done. And for startups, this flexibility has really allowed us to adapt in the market and to the market and how it's changing and be more flexible.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think that's one important thing to remember about hustle culture is that it stacks on itself. You know what I mean? It becomes a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy where, everybody says they're working more. So you try to work more to catch up, and eventually nobody can catch up. It becomes all performative and no action,
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
better to be outcomes focused is the thing we need to do.
Yes.
Right?
Results
Instead of
focused.
like if it took me 40 hours to get this thing done, if I could have done it in 16, who cares if I did that, health wellness seminar at lunch? Good, do it. Like that's what we want you to be doing. So I think it's about creating a culture at work. And when you have your own company, you do have that opportunity to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And also I think recognizing that done is better than good and good is better than perfect sometimes, you know what I mean? And not constantly striving for everything to be 100% where you need it to be, you know what I mean? Like just working to get the things in place and doing your best,
Yeah.
And I think that leads again really well into what are some of the biggest challenges that you focused in innovating and in growing your business?
I think I touched on a little bit, like staying in tune with how the world is changing as a result of the pandemic, and not just saying, oh, I checked in 6 months ago and that's good enough. Like we have to, there's so much change going on in the world that we really need to stay attuned to it. And speaking from the perspective of healthcare innovation, particularly, the examples are like, hospitals have moved to adopt tech more readily. And I've really, accelerated telehealth. It had a lot of positive things, but that doesn't mean that, for example, hospitals have matured operational processes around adopting that new tech. And so for us, like, I need to understand how decisions are made, how tech is evaluated before it's, even though they're opening the doors and saying, we're going to bring in more tech, how is it evaluated? What is the process to get, to become a vendor or whatever? And a lot of that is still hasn't evolved yet. And so it's this like tension between the desire of healthcare to adopt these new practices and just how there's a little bit of a lag in terms of the operational maturity or processes around it. So that's, I think, some of the really facing now in terms of adapting to the change.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I think it's interesting to hear also what different businesses are experiencing, right? Because everyone's challenges have been different, and the sorts of things you've had to adapt to over the course of the pandemic have been different. Talk a little bit about where you want to go next and the types of things you'd like to achieve with your business coming up.
I mean, there's two answers to this for me. Like on one hand, there's like, what do we want to achieve in the market? We're starting in pediatrics. We want to help these patients. We want to grow into the adult market. We see a lot of value in orthopedics and cardiology and oncology. And then when we think about using movement as for recovery, those are like obvious next steps. But what can we use movement, mobility to say eventually in the future for prevention? Like other populations, like in geriatrics, you know, could you use immersive technology to engage somebody with like memories from their life and keep them moving so that they're, you know, it's slowing the onset of other disease or preventing falls. So we have a vision around how we can really revolutionize patient mobility and patient engagement. But I think for me, a lot of it is like, I really want to create a healthy company with a really positive culture that is very rewarding for the team and is like full of people that really care about what they're doing and care about the impact that we're having in the world. And that is a thing that I think, you know, with the pandemic, it's like, I maybe wouldn't have answered that before, but now with the challenges of everyone working remotely and hiring remotely and like, how do you build a company culture when everything is remote? That has become higher on my achievement list in terms of really, you know, turning the key in terms of company culture in a new remote world.
Yeah, absolutely. I think company culture is a massive part of the satisfaction of your employees and the quality of work that they're able to produce. So I think that's definitely a noble goal. And it's interesting to hear some of the other innovations that may be on the horizon, right? I think particularly, you know, like you said, geriatric care and, you know, just getting people up and moving could be some really interesting applications for the technology.
Yeah.
And I think lastly, as part of the fireside chat portion of this talk, I'm wondering how do you see us building back better in 2022? Like, what are the improvements on the format that we had before the pandemic that you would like to see moving forward?
You know, and this is, you know, speaking to a bit of my passion and how I've built my company and gone about things, but like, I believe that whether we're trying to improve the economy, healthcare, access to internet, whatever it is we're trying to improve, diversity, equity, and inclusion is going to help us build back better. And it's not just about, you know, setting it as a goal. It's about how do we start to turn this into something that is accepted and expected aspect of everyday operations, everyday best practice. So as a founder, you know, I started my company, I get to help set the culture, you know, define things, and we get to create the best practices. And I think that the more people that are reflecting that on an everyday basis, that those values are important. So for example, when we hire a position, we'll set out goals and say, like, we cannot start interviewing any candidates until we have identified that the candidate pool is diverse. And we'll set very specific criteria for that. Like, I don't want to come in and see that we have 25 resumes all from, you know, the same, you know, type of person who graduated from the same type of school, who's roughly the same age. Like, I don't want to see that. That's not good enough. And so even though there might be some really great candidates in that pool, we can't start interviewing until we have a diverse enough pool. So like, that's our rule. And sometimes that's hard. And sometimes you risk losing a good candidate, but in the end, like, that has to be represented every day in everything we do. So, and we do it that extends beyond hiring into our research. Like, for recruiting and for a research study, like, let's try to find the best partners so that we can recruit from the most diverse patient pool possible, so that any outcomes we have, clinical outcomes we have, are representative of the population. And so I think that everyone can do their part every day if you can, you know, live those values and encourage those values to be lived by others, that can echo up in terms of building back better. So everyone is represented.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those are two really important points, right? On the research side, making sure that there are not gaps in the data where diverse populations exist. And also, you know, I think we want to make sure that those candidate pools are diverse, so that when we're making choices about hiring, we have that range of people to consider, right? It solves so many problems. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort. And I think it also takes a little bit of introspection, right? If you're just getting a very narrow band of applicants, why is that? Is it where you're posting it? Is it the language in the job posting? Things like that. So I think that's a really, really important point, and something that people often forget, right? It's not just about picking a diverse candidate. It's also about having that diverse candidate pool to choose from.
Yeah. I think the Women's Day hashtag this year was break the bias. And I think that's like a really important thing that I think extends beyond Women's Day is, when we become aware of our own biases, as a woman founder, I don't think I was even aware that the job descriptions I was writing and putting out in the world, I was like, why are more women not applying for this job? Like, this is a woman-run company. Why aren't they applying? And I had to stop and really examine, like, what is the language I'm choosing? How am I describing our culture? How am I, representing us and encouraging like that representation to, be reflected back at us? Like, it was a huge wake-up call. So I think that this idea of like, how do we begin to break the bias and it's first by identifying it even within ourselves, and then adapting our practices and how we go about, reflecting those values in terms of break the bias, get rid of it.
Yeah. And sometimes it's not an obvious bias, right? Sometimes it's that unconscious bias that we don't even realize that we have. That's the most dangerous and insidious part of it, is recognizing the things that we don't even know that we're making decisions based on, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a couple of really excellent audience questions. For anybody in the audience who's wondering, I'm getting the questions from the Q&A section of the chat panel. So the first one I have for you is, what question do you wish we would stop asking women?
Okay, so the first thing that's coming to my mind is kind of maybe too specific, but I think as an entrepreneur and as someone who's raised venture capital, I find that, and there's a great TED talk on this, but like there's a lot of women tend to get negative questions in entrepreneurship and men tend to get positive questions. And there's been lots of examination. This isn't my conclusion, but I have lived it and I get a lot of it. So when you ask what questions we want to stop asking women, like, why won't this work? Or what are, what's going to prevent you from success? Or what happens if you lose those customers? Or what happened, it tends to be framed negatively. And I think we should stop framing the, women who are willing to take the risk around starting a company, doing a career change later in life, like all the ways that we can take risk and to improve things in the long run. Like, let's not start from a place. Like, let's have everybody start from a place of what is the potential of this and how can we best get there, as opposed to what are all the things that can go wrong. And that's kind of the thing I'm sick of right now.
Yeah, for sure. I think another way to think about it is changing your perspective a little bit, right? It's not about, oh, well, why are you leaving your career? It's about what sort of opportunities are you looking forward to? Things like that, right? I think that's huge, absolutely huge, is again, that unconscious bias. What sort of positive questions are we asking? And where is our frame of reference, right? Why are we worried about what might go wrong, right?
Yeah.
I think next we'll go to, what are your greatest failures and what have they taught you?
Okay. So I made so many mistakes. And I thought that might be a question. I'll tell a funny story. So I thought I was like super clever early on. It's like, oh, I'm the CEO and I need help selling. So if I want to focus on fundraising and everything, so I thought, how am I going to get a salesperson? I have no money. I hadn't raised any money yet. I was pre-revenue. I was like, how am I going to get a salesperson? And so I was like, oh, I'm going to put my big brain on this. I had seen that in town, a large company had laid off a bunch of people, including a lot of salespeople. And I was like, ooh, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go approach these people on LinkedIn and I'm going to offer them, I will give you a really good title. And you're still looking for work. I understand this. And I can't pay you. But in the meantime, I'll give you really high commission rates on anything you can sell for us. You're going to teach me how to sell because you're a seasoned salesperson. And you won't have a gap in your resume. So we all win, right? Well, that maybe it sounds like a great idea. Maybe people are out there shaking their head. No, it was like the worst idea ever. First of all, I should never have somebody else teach me how to sell the product that I created. And that was just like, maybe it was a moment of like lack of confidence or not just understanding, but it was totally a moment. Like I brought this person in, a highly successful person that was from a big company that wasn't really ready to work in the culture of a startup, to be set up. I didn't know how to set that person up for success. That person couldn't teach me how to sell my own product. It was all these things that it was like, if you looked up in the dictionary, you know, startup mistakes 101, like there's a picture of me. Don't hire like a salesperson before you know how to do something. So that was, I always laugh at that moment where I thought I was so clever. I was so creative. And I was like, this was a terrible, it ended disastrously. And I moved on from there.
Well, there you go. Right. I guess, I mean, the most important thing is not making mistakes. It's learning, right? And getting better all the time. So
being able to recover, like mistakes are good, but mistakes, especially in startup land, like as long as you're not making mistakes that you can't recover from, and that's okay. Just keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. And I think we have time for one more question. What was the most important part of your business journey?
The most important part, so I mean, I'm going to sound like a plant here. It is the network, it's the people, because there's this, you know, I always think about this saying, the best time to plant a tree is 25 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is today. And like, that's what it is in terms of building relationships. So whether I'm trying to like find people to join my team or to invest in my company or to be a customer, like you want those relationships for a really long time. And so you've got to invest in them. And I've met so many incredible people and learned so much about myself. You know, I had a long career in technology and I was a subject matter expert, and going into entrepreneurship is like, you have to start over. You're no longer the person who knows the most about this one really specific topic, and you can walk in the room confidently. And, you know, I'm suddenly asked to be doing financial projections and things I have no clue, like I'm Googling it, you know? And so I think the people I met along the way who were willing to teach me or to help me or to spend afternoons with me having coffee and like explaining what like bad terms in a term sheet could mean for my company. Like, you know, if it weren't for those people, I would have made far more mistakes that probably would have put the company under. And so I always, when it harkens back to an earlier question, like if you can't budget time for the people that are going to make a difference in the growth of your company, your employees, your customers, your investors, the whole network around you, then you really need to examine where you're spending your time and what it's going to get you in the long run. So that for me, the journey was the people.
Absolutely. I think that's a great segue. I don't think you sound like a plant at all. Honestly, I think it's really true. No, for real. I mean, but you know, we put these events on to help support women to make those connections. And I think, you know, you really show genuinely how it's affected you and how it's affected your business and how important it's been. So thank you so much, Christine. It's been fantastic to talk to you. And I really appreciate your perspective on all this.
Thank you very much, Aislinn. Thank you, everyone. Look forward to meeting more of you later.
Yes, absolutely. I know there are a couple of questions that we didn't get to, and we're going to transfer to Kelly to bring us back to networking, and then we'll get a chance to all chat in the room together. Hi there, Kelly. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. And that was absolutely amazing. Thank you, Christina, for, I don't have to pull my book out and, you know, hit people over on the head with it. I can just point to you, which would be amazing. So here's what's going to happen in the rest of our networking time together. We're going to have actually 2 networking sessions. So I'm going to give the instructions for the first one. I'll give you a hint on the second one. We'll come back here in between. We'll share some information in the chat, and then we'll go back in. Before we go back into the networking, if you didn't figure it out the first time around, you know how that layout of the networking, there was like little chairs and little things clumped around everywhere. If you double click on like Remo will just kind of plunk you in a chair. If you see a seat you'd like to be in, or maybe you want to move around, because I actually do want you to move around, go and double click on another chair and it'll move you into that conversation. So if Remo tosses you into a corner by yourself, you're not stuck there waiting like for someone to fill your dance card. Move around and find other people. So here's what we're going to do the first time around. Networking, as you've heard from Christina, and you already probably know, networking is a lot about what you can give, not just what you can take. So in this first networking session, we're going to focus, and since 2022's word of the year is allyship, we're going to focus on how you can be an ally. And you can be an ally by sharing how you can help other people. So maybe you are a superstar at sales, right? How could you offer to help other people with this sales skill? How can you, maybe you're great at Excel spreadsheets and you could help people. Maybe you're happy to review a pitch deck. I don't know. Everyone's got a superpower that might be something somebody else needs. In this first networking session, and we're going to be rapid, 10 minutes on the clock by my friends at TeCH. We're going to give everyone 10 minutes, and all you're going to share is how you can help. Because guess what we're going to do the next round? Guess what? But anyway, off we go into our Remo platform and network. Share how you can be an ally, how you can help others, and I'll see you back here in 10 minutes when we get into the networking platform. So I've just put a little note in the chat. I heard lots of great asks and things that people were looking for. Pop them in the chat. And so if you weren't able to get around to every table and talk to everybody, let people know what you need, like pop it there in the chat. So, if you can solve somebody else's problem, guess what? It does feel good because it does release all sorts of endorphins in our head and make us feel all better as well. I'm also going to see, there it is. I'm going to put my ask in the chat. I have a survey on how people feel about professional networking. It's 6 questions. There's my ask. I'd like you to participate in that and add your 2 cents worth on how you feel about professional networking. I loved how Christina said, earlier in the fireside that how our personal and professional is all kind of blurred, but there is still this professional networking that we need to do. So everyone, pop in the chat. What is it that you're seeking? What is it that you need? I heard someone was needing that. Thank you, Catherine. Creating a workout challenge group with your trainer. Chat with me if you know anyone who's interested. That's awesome. I think I heard somebody else was looking for a project manager and Gantt charts, all sorts of stuff. Right. And so while we're here, I'm going to pop over here, looking in the Q&A. Are there other, I want to say, questions on networking, questions on how, if you're not familiar with the amazing support through TeCH and some of the other regional organizations supporting entrepreneurs, you got questions on that? Is there some of, there we go. Thank Vesna for putting that in there. Project manager, Gantt chart development. If someone's like, oh, I know someone looking to do that. If there's some other networking or questions in terms of this community, how you can get supported by TeCH or others. I thank you, Yvonne. Kelly, best tips for networking. You know what? The easiest tip is don't be a jerk. But let me give you my very best tip, because I think it is It's one of the easiest things to fix, and the majority of people don't do this. Okay, your biggest networking mistake is the failure to follow up. And by that, I mean, if someone said they were going to help you tonight and you don't fire that email, or someone did help you, maybe a mentor gave you some advice last week and you haven't followed up and let them know you've done anything with that advice, or maybe someone held an informational session with you and you didn't send the thank you. That's what I'm talking about. Now, if you want to take it one step forward, okay, so first off, thanking someone, following up like that immediate, like it could be like in a day or two, but if you do that thank you, I appreciated the advice, I'm looking forward to looking into this, or whatever. If you follow up in that way, there's a 50%, you increase your odds by 50% that person's going to want to help you again in the future. I don't know if there's any studies on the odds if you do this next thing, but my chances are you're going to completely convert a relationship. So if you follow up later and let someone know what happened, like say you say to someone, it's an informational interview, and you say, thank you, I really appreciate your time on the informational interview. You've given me a lot to think about, and I'm going to look into it. And then, you know what? You take some time down the road and you look into it, let the person know, hey, you recommended that course. I'm taking it right now and I'm finding it really valuable. And, one of the resources the instructor gave us was this, and I thought I'd pass it along to you. That kind of follow through down the road, that is what really converts. Someone who was happy to help you once is, because they like to do that sort of thing, it converts them into someone who's really invested in what you're doing. And it really picks up on what Christina was saying, that you can't start building some of these relationships early enough. And it doesn't have to be a series of endless Zoom dates or, coffee chat, or I can meet you 6 feet apart kind of stuff. It can be purely keeping people in the loop with what you're doing and how you're progressing. And that really does, it changes things. People want to open, their contacts. They want to hear from you. They want to help you more. And a really easy way and an overlooked way to do that is to follow up and follow through and keep people in the loop. So, as I always say to people, I wrote a book on networking. It's a lot of advice that, guess what, I've used. So, as I like to say, I eat my own dog food when it comes to networking advice. So I'm not giving you advice that I haven't had to use myself. So Yvonne, thanks for that question. Who else? Someone's got to have some other questions, or, I'm not seeing enough stuff popping away here in the chat, folks. Are you putting in there, what you need or what it is that you have to offer? What else do you have questions on? In our remaining time, I'm watching sort of like the countdown for, New Year's and Times Square, the countdown clock. What is the benefit of having a network such as this one, this Shannon, you're talking about this network of women, this network of entrepreneurs. I would say we heard from Christina. She couldn't say it even better than I did. Listen, we're often, when we're networking, we think we need to network with people up the food chain, like someone, oh, I'm a startup founder, I should network with, someone up here. Listen, networking with your peers, networking with others who are going through the trenches with you, networking with like-minded women, really critical. You may be looking to change jobs. You may be thinking, I got my 9 to 5 and then I've got my side hustle that I'm hoping is going to turn into entrepreneurship. You may be surrounded with some really caring friends and family members who wouldn't understand why you'd give up a really good job to become an entrepreneur. That means you need a group of like-minded women who are going to say, I get it. I get why you're really frustrated with what you're doing and you want to create your own thing. So that's why, finding like minds and finding like-minded women and finding like-minded women who have diverse networks is also really critical. You don't want to end up, I want to say you don't want to end up in an echo chamber, people, sort of saying the same thing all the time. So, and you're absolutely right. You never know how a connection will change your life. And it could come from anywhere. It might be, it could have been the Consul General who changed your life, or it could be the intern, someone who's just starting off their career, reinventing their career. Everyone has value and everyone has networks. You never, ever know how that's going to unfold. And the best way to be is, be generous and be out there and, see what happens. I think I saw another question up here. How best to identify what to ask to pair with what person in your network? Allison, you're thinking about connecting two people. If you could just clarify that, that would be awesome. You're thinking, are you trying to be a connector within your network? Is that what you're looking to do? If you could just, Allison, if you could just clarify that, that would be amazing. How do I identify what questions to ask who? Oh, great question. Yeah, one of the things I think about when I'm going to hunt out to do networking is, what are the questions that I have? And then I do sit there and I ponder who's the best person to ask. They're going to close this out in 2 minutes. So you know what? That's when you source around. And that might be also asking, getting really clear on your ask, Allison, so that you can, it may be preliminary, saying to people, here's what I'm really struggling with. Who do you think is the best person for me to ask about this? This is when you review people's LinkedIn profiles and you do that good stalking on the internet so that you see what they're interested in, so you understand whether or not they are the right person at the right time to answer your question. Hopefully that helps. And if not, Allison, best place, everyone on my website, jkellyhoey.co, jkellyhoey.co. You'll find all my social handles, you find contact information. You can hit me up there. I'm happy to answer questions at any time. In the 57 seconds we got left, Yvonne, anyone from TeCK, you want to come in and say some closing remarks? This has been just such an awesome evening. There she is.
Hello, hello, hello. Yes, thank you so much, Kelly. It's been great. This has been an awesome networking session.
So much fun, so much generosity. I look forward to connecting with all these people and keeping this conversation going.